John, we're going to start with a bit of sad news before we kick on with the show. Tito Jackson, this is an original member of the Jackson 5 and brother of Michael Jackson, has died sadly at the age of 70. He rose to fame alongside his siblings Jackie, Jermaine, Marlon and Michael. As we know, later became a pop megastar and passed away sadly in 2009. The group achieved numerous hits in the 1970s, including ABC, I Want You Back, Blame It on the Boogie, and I'll Be There. Tito, the third of the 9 Jackson children, played guitar and contributed backing vocals. It's always sad to see, John, when someone that I'm not saying he's a big part of our lives. Certainly the Jackson 5 were out long before we were even on this planet, but everyone knows the Jackson 5, not just also through Michael, but as a group themselves, you know, in their own right. And all those songs I just mentioned, we all know them, and some of them I really do like. So it's sad to see a very talented man as well in terms of playing the guitar, and an exceptional voice like all the Jackson brothers. So it's always sad to see at the age of 70. It's very young, isn't it?
Young for this day and age, yeah. Where most people with advancement of obviously medicine and treatments and just knowledge in general and science are living thankfully later and later and later.
Yeah.
Most are getting into their 80s. Obviously that has its own pitfalls where you could potentially have dementia and stuff like that and other horrendous conditions afflicting you. But that's something that's not really applicable to this. And I'm not going to go off in a tangent this early on. Needless to say, Stephen, sad news.
Yeah,
the Jackson 5 are an iconic group, iconic singers and artists, obviously heavily pushed by their father, who was a bit of a controversial figure. I think there was a lot of talk of them being struck and whatnot, and really pushed. But you tend to find that with these sort of famous artists and sports figures. They do tend to get pushed very hard with their parents into being successful. And look, for good and bad, that shaped them into who they were, and they were hugely successful and influential people. So it's always sad to see someone like this passing. We mentioned it the other night when we were caught midstream with the passing of James Earl Jones. That you've got a whole generation of these people who, massive people in pop culture and certainly in Western spheres for multiple decades, multiple generations of influence, they're now starting to pass away.
Yeah.
And it's always sad. I just can't believe that Michael Jackson's been away for 15 years now. I remember that like it was yesterday. I was lying in my bed. It was my sort of DD era. DD being a sort of comedian, not a comedian, a comic character. What would you call that? A sketch character? From the comedian Brian Lemmy Lemond, who is a bit of a lie around, a deadbeat, a hash head, as you like to say, a hash head here. And he was lying about. That was me after school for a year or two. I got lost for a while. And I was lying in my bed and the news broke of obviously MJ passing away. Yeah. And it was shocking. Again, it's controversy quoted Michael Jackson for years and years and years, but a wondrous singer, an artist, legendary figure. And when he passed, it was a truly sad day. Yeah. I don't know how many of the 5 are actually left now.
I was just thinking that myself, John. I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. As I said, you know, they were a band long before we were born, but we all know their hits. We know ABC and I Want You Back. I think I Want You Back is probably my favourite. One they did, but
I like it. Do you say Blame It on the Boogie?
Blame It on the Boogie.
Don't
as well.
blame it on sunshine.
Yeah, a really good song. In fact, they were all talented artists.
Stephen, but that era as well, you think of that era, you immediately think of the sort of funky disco kind of music and the artistry required to play those instrumental parts. So if he was a guitarist, and you said he was a guitarist,
a big part of it,
that's a massive part of the sound that obviously personified the Jackson 5. So I mean, it was some titanic figure in that group.
I mean, I know that they did some reunion stuff later on, and I don't know if it was the late 90s or the early 2000s, but I think they were very proud of Michael and his success.
Yeah.
And there was no, I don't think anyway, there was any animosity towards him going solo or anything like that. You know, it was just what he had to do at the time.
Yeah, clearly.
And he excelled at it, you know.
Hugely talented guy.
I mean, an amazing singer at a young age as well as obviously his adult life.
Performer.
But, I mean, I don't know the ins and outs, obviously, of their upbringings, other than, you know, that a big part of their childhood was obviously missing, you know.
Yeah.
You know, the sort of normality of a childhood, if you like, if you can call it that. Thanks to the fame, you know, that's the price you pay, I suppose, as a child star, a child actor, or a child musician. that's the price you pay. You're going to miss
I
out
think it
on
was
a lot.
probably Michael that bore the brunt of that.
I think so,
because
yeah.
I think it was clear with the family and obviously his brothers that he was the most talented of the lot. It's not to say the rest were less talented, all incredibly talented people, even Janet,
Yeah.
hugely successful musician and singer in her own right. But it's pretty clear out of the lot that Michael was the star.
Yeah.
So he was going to bear the brunt, and they were obviously pushing him to try and get the absolute last drop of talent out of him and pour it all into sort of creative purposes. So, look, I mean, I think it was Michael was talking about the way that he was treated. He didn't really have a childhood, and he was obviously pushed and pushed and pushed, maybe to breaking point at times. But that's neither here nor there. As I says, we've seen that with the Williams sisters. There's been a film made about that. We've seen it with Sharapova as well, the tennis player. Seen it time and again. The Murray brothers with Judy Murray. You need a parental figure to maybe keep someone who's a precocious talent on the right path. Just because, maybe purely for selfish reasons to make money, but also to just get the most out of that talent. Guys like Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5 and a family as special as the Jackson family, they don't come along very often.
No, that's it.
So you have to do your absolute most to eke out every last drop of potential and obviously excellence. And they did it, to be fair. They did do it. I mean, you think of that era, you think of the Jackson 5, you think of the Motown acts and whatnot. That's what you think of back then.
I think I read today, Jordan, just as I picked up this news, that only a few days ago he was actually out sort of with his remaining siblings, try to push the memory of Michael, don't forget him and stuff like that. So it goes to show, obviously even, right up to his sad passing.
A very cool guy as well, man.
Yeah.
They're really interesting get up with also the fedora hat and whatnot.
Yeah.
Really cool cat, as they would probably say back in those days. Just try to figure out, Steve, what actually, I mean, also they're not going to let you know. I mean, was there any illness or whatnot? Because it's always a very sudden passing.
Yeah,
no
it
one
doesn't
was
say.
expecting
I don't know if it's probably not been confirmed yet. I'm not sure as we record, John. But
fucking incredibly cool people.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah.
Just iconic, man.
Yeah.
Iconic, and it's a sad, sad loss.